What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Hive Prometheus. Today is a good day. It's December. Well, happy holidays. As part of the Grotmas Advent Calendar event that GW is doing this month, we're having 30 new detachments released for the different armies in the game for 40k. Today, we got a little lucky and we had the Tyranid detachment released on the third day. So we got our Warrior BIOFORM Onslaught is going to be our 7th detachment. So I'm just going to go ahead and go through the detachment rule, the enhancements, and the stratagems for this detachment. I'm going to try to do it just stream of consciousness really quickly, and then I'm going to give you my take of the first list that I would play with this. I originally, earlier in the day, looking at this, was not impressed, but I think letting it kind of sink in, there's usually a lot of depth to Tyranid detachments in general. So I think that some of the prevailing ideas and lists are now kind of filtering up to the top. But starting out, we have the detachment rule is leader beasts, Tyranid warriors, and winged Tyranid prime units, not models, have 5-up invulnerable save. This means that Tyranid primes leading gargoyles becomes a Tyranid prime unit, and those gargoyles can get 5+ invulnerable saves. Looking specifically at keywords, Tyranid warriors with ranged bioweapons and Tyranid warriors with melee bioweapons. Units from the army gain the Tyranid warriors and battle line keywords. So this then can make these Tyranid warrior models in a unit OC3. That helps with any banners opportunities. That helps with preventing your opponent from doing secret missions. I think this helps a little bit and gives warriors some much needed love. I'm not super wed or love warriors, but if there's rules that can make them work for the right points, I think that's okay. Going on to the first enhancement, we have Synaptic Tyrant. This essentially just lets a Neurotyrant model lead a warrior unit so that you can get that +1 to hit innately, and you can get +1 to wound against a battle shocked unit. It seems all right. I don't know if I super love that it's also locked behind an enhancement. I thought that they could have also just thrown that into keywords and just said that in this detachment specifically, you can allow a Neurotyrant to join warriors. Seems a little bit of a waste to me, although it's flexible and it's flavorful, which I think is probably what people want from these detachments more than anything. Next up is Ocular Adaptation. This is for a winged Tyranid prime model. This makes it so that a model in the bearer's unit, whenever it makes an attack, you add 1 to the hit roll. That's +1 to hit in shooting and melee. Honestly, this is probably the less good of the remainder of the two that I would choose. If you really wanted to make it so that your melee warriors could hit on 2s, maybe that's worth something. But onto sensory assimilation for 20 points additionally. It also only goes on a winged Tyranid prime. Each time the attack targets the bearer's unit, you subtract 1 from the hit roll, so you get stealth to the whole unit. That's pretty cool. I think that's going to be a lot more useful just because they have some slightly higher defensiveness with that 5-up invuln. And then if they're in cover and with the -1 hit, this at least stacks a layer of buffs that they won't just get obliterated by normal shooting like warriors would right now with a 4-up save. The last of which is Elevated Might. This is 30 points. It's kind of a hefty amount of points. This goes on any Tyranid's model. Any leader. The bearer's unit is eligible to declare a charge in which it advanced. So advance and charge on something like Tyranid Prime with Warriors, or a Brood Lord with Gene Stealers, or Swarm Lord with Tyrant Guard, or Hive Tyrant with Tyrant Guard, or a Neurotyrant with Tyrant Guard. This allows a lot of flexibility in that leader spot. I kind of like the idea of having a Brood Lord squad or a Hive Tyrant, but I don't know if you necessarily want to have them with the advance and charge just because they're monsters. They're not going to be able to go through walls. It's probably better just to throw it on 1 of 2 squads of 6 melee warriors with a Tyranid prime, and then you have your choice between ocular adaptation and sensory assimilation. But going on to the stratagems here, our first up is Synaptic Amplification. This is in your shooting phase or your fight phase. You choose a Tyranid's unit from your army that has been not yet been selected to shoot or fight, so it's going to be before you allocate attacks or declare or roll any dice. If the unit is a Tyranid's warrior unit, you can select 1 endless multitude unit from your army that's not battle shocked within 6 until the end of the phase. Each time a model in those units makes an attack, you re-roll a wound roll of 1, and if it's a Tyranid's warriors unit, you re-roll a hit roll of 1 as well. So this, I guess, would specifically help a little bit with either your gargoyles or your hormigons or your termagants. But I think the stratagem's just all right. I think it's probably better for those melee warriors, so you can re-roll reroll hit rolls of 1 and wound rolls of 1, especially with your additional strength. So it's an okay strat. Second up is Spontaneous Hyper Corrosion. I do think this is probably one of the better strats. It's in your shooting or your fight phase. One Tyranid unit from your army is selected before you shoot or fight once again. Until the end of the phase, add 2 to the strength characteristic of ranged weapons equipped by a model in your unit, and add 1 to the strength characteristics of melee weapons equipped by Tyranid warriors and winged Tyranid prime models in your unit. So this specifically does give 2 separate buffs to Tyranid warriors and winged Tyranid primes. However, the +2 strength to shooting can be any one Tyranid unit. That means Exocrines can go to strength 11 in shooting, Malicipters can go to strength 12, Carnifexes with Death Spitters go to strength 9, your Tyranid, if you need to wound a T10 target on 2s, can go to strength 20. There's a lot of interesting breakpoints here. I think one of the other more interesting ones is Zoanthropes go to strength 9 blast and strength 14 focus shots, and then the Neurotyrant would be given strength 7 flamer shots on its 2d6 flamer. I think this is probably one of the better strats in the detachment. I think if you can use this every turn, you absolutely will. The next one is Restorative Impulse. Long story short, this allows you to regen 1 warrior model in your command phase. This especially helps with having those warrior models be OC3. You can regen them back into points so that you can steal primary. It also makes it so that most armies that don't completely kill a unit, you can start regenning them back into cover and move them. So I think for 1 CP, it's okay. It's more situational because I don't think it's something that you want to do every turn, but having the ability to do so is very nice. Fourth one coming up is Synaptic Micronodes. So in your movement phase, once a Tyranid unit from your army has selected an objective that they control and the unit is within range, the objective marker remains under your control until your opponent's level of control over that objective marker is greater than yours at the end of the phase. Objective control is calculated at the end of each phase, so I don't know if I necessarily understand the minutia of this stratagem here, but essentially it gives sticky objective. The 5th stratagem, I think, is also probably the second best stratagem in the detachment. It's in your shooting phase, 1 Tyranid ranged warriors from your unit. Until the end of the phase, your ranged weapons have the ignore cover ability, which is not super great for the Tyranid warriors itself. But the big thing here is that any other units afterwards that are resolving its attacks against the same target that the warrior shot at, they do not receive the benefit of cover until the end of the turn. So this is going to be really good because it essentially is a Pyrovore ability that you can strip cover at range as opposed to the Pyrovore moving 5 and shooting 12 with its flamer. There are 36-inch guns on the Tyranid warriors in the move 6. So now you have a 42-inch range to reach out, parasitic payload, strip cover, and then shoot your Exocrine, which gets its full AP3, and Tyranid, which get its full AP4. I think that looks pretty good. Like that a lot. And the last switch is Synaptic Shield. So it's in your opponent's shooting phase just after an enemy unit has selected its targets. So a Tyranid warrior unit from your army has been selected as a target of 1 or more of the enemy's attacks. If that unit is a Tyranid's warrior unit, select 1 Endless Multitude unit from the army that's not battle-checked within 6. Until the end of the phase, each time I target ranged attack targets one of those units, the strength characteristic of the attack is greater than the toughness, subtract 1 from the wound roll. So it's the same thing we see on Terminators for a lot of things. So the Terminator's toughness 5, and they're being shot with a strength 6 weapon. They're not going to win on 3s. They're going to be wound at -1. I think this is good if you've got like 1 cheap battle line or 2 in your list, like Gargoyles or Hormigons or something that you're probably naturally going to bring, and a Tyranid Warriors unit that's sort of left out. Hopefully this is the one that's got your -1 to hit enhancement. So it's going to be -1 to hit, 5-up invuln. If you got a Psychophage in the list, you're always going to count in cover, and they're going to be at -1 to wound. I think the layered buffs here is pretty good. I think it makes the survivability like 2.5 times better on average, something like that. So not too bad. Now just quickly, I want to jump to a list that I think is going to take advantage of most of the things here. So just because of points, I wasn't able to bring in another true battle line. Now that the warriors are battle line, you know, they take care of banners and they take care of a lot of the things for missions, such as advancing doing actions like stalwarts. So I think that's pretty useful. Starting off, we just have Walking Hive Tyrant, no enhancements. Probably going full melee on him, just so that he can babysit the Exocrines and the Rupture Fexes in the list. 2 Winged Primes, which are going to attach to the melee warriors specifically. One's going to have Elevated Might for the advance and charge. One has Sensory Assimilation for the -1 to hit. And then 2 squads of 3 ranged warriors. They're going to be OC9, they're going to sit on points, they're going to sticky objectives, and then maybe they run off and they do some actions. 1 squad of Neurogons, that's just your base screening so that people can't get to your Exocrines and your Rupture Fexes in the back line. 2 Lictors, which are our normal action monkeys in the first place. Raveners, so that they have the uppy downy to go to corners if we need engage on all fronts or behind enemy lines. We also have the BIOFORM because I think the BIOFORM is still super good and super useful. We have a Psychophage that hopefully is going to bubble up and give 6-up field no pains to the warriors or to the castle of shooting units. And then triple exocrine, double rupture effects comes to 1995 points. If I had 20 extra points here, well, I guess 15 because I'm at 1995, I'd like to upgrade those Neurogons to Hormagaunts. If I had 30 extra points, I would upgrade those Neurogons to a 5-man squad of Gene Stealers. I think them just being able to have a small footprint, run through walls, they scout, they have 20 attacks on the 5, and they're a good trading piece. I'd like to have sort of as a buddy system for the Ravners, but this is just the first iteration. I'm going to see if I can play a game on TTS. I've just now started playing games on TTS, although very slowly. It does help with sort of list creation so that you don't have to go out and buy 18 warriors. I do already have those, so I can run this list in person. But yeah, December is going to be really interesting for the meta. I don't know at all what the my faction tier list is going to look like. I don't know what win rates are going to look like coming into January. I think once we get the data slate for the rules and points and all these detachments, it's going to be the Wild West all over again. I think we're effectively, we can call this 10.5 edition. So I'm excited for the new changes. So far it's been a good December. I hope life is treating you well as well. And thanks for coming around and listening to me. It's always good to talk to you. So until next time, I'll catch you here on Hive Prometheus. Catch you next time.